I feel like this is a great month for musicals. The Wicked movie is on our way out to us in November. Wicked Widow have teased the Rocky Horror Picture Show collection, which I can't even contain my excitement about that. And Gourmande Girls have come out with a Trapped collection, which is totally based on the Little Shop of Horrors. We've got so many cool names in here. Now, this palette did come out in a collection. You can get, I think, 18 lip glosses and a couple of liquid lipsticks and 2 different highlighters. Now you can buy parts of the collection on Monolith shop. I believe there's 1 highlighter unless they've put the other one up, and a bunch of the lip glosses and liquid lipstick. Monolith shop is a really cool EU shop based in the EU. Of course, the UK is not in the EU anymore, sadly, but we still have access to Monolith shop, and obviously we can get the palettes over, and it's just so much easier than waiting for them to come from like Australia and America. It's such a great store, and I've bought a lot of my indie palettes from there, probably almost all of them, and that's no exception for the Trapped palette. So there is more to this collection. I didn't get it, unfortunately, because I only have limited funds per month. But I did, of course, get this palette because I couldn't resist it. Look at that colour story. As soon as I saw this, I knew I wanted to do a green look based, kind of dedicated to Audrey and the song Somewhere That's Green. I've used most of the greens in this palette, and then this kind of shifty multi-chrome shade here, and this kind of shifty multi-chrome shade here. I noticed that Gourmande Girls have also brought out the Nevermore palette, and I'm just like, indie brands right now bringing out their Halloween collections and their autumn collections. It's like, it's non-stop, and you have so many new palettes and such limited funds. Well, I do anyway, so I have to be kind of picky and choosy, and some of these reviews might come up late because I don't get PR, which is absolutely fine. I'm a tiny channel, like more than like a micro YouTuber. I'm like a barely there YouTuber. I have limited funds, so I have to be quite picky, but I do have a couple more reviews of indie palettes coming up, but I do want to get my hands on that Nevermore palette once it hopefully lands onto Monolith shop. I'm really excited to show you the Trapped palette. On the screen, you're going to see a close-up of the palette and some swatches. 14 beautiful shades. That's going to be made up of pinks, purples, mostly greens, so multi-chromes, and a marbled shade. And of course the palette does have references to the movie, so you've got things like Feed Me, as in like Feed Me Seymour, and Audrey Jr. Or Audrey 2. Although it's not an official IP, it's definitely paying homage to that whole Little Shop of Horrors vibe. I feel like the shades swatched well, but they laid down better on my eyes than they actually swatched. So some of them looked a little bit sheer on my swatches. I usually tend to do 1 pass or sometimes 2 to build up if I really need to. But I feel like they're really punchy on the eyes. That's just something to keep in mind. But anyway, enough blabbering from me. I'm going to talk you through how I got this look, how I feel about the shades in the palette, and I want you to see, hopefully you can see how well they perform. So the next clip you're going to see is me applying the shadows to my eyes. As always, the first thing I'm going to do is prime my eyes, and I'm using MAC's Painterly Paint Pot to do that, and this is just going to take away any discoloration and get that eyeshadow to stick down really nicely and stay down all day. As you've seen by the title, I'm going to be using the Trapped palette, and I think I want to play around with the greens mostly and maybe add a little bit of this pink in, maybe on the lower lash line. I'm not sure yet, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I am really excited to play with this palette. The colour story is so cool. First thing I'm going to do is take my EO1 and I'm going to dip into this shade here called All Green. I'm just going to place that on the outer half of my eye and up into the crease. And that's going on beautifully. That's a really pigmented shade. I'm just kind of patting and creating my shape here for the outer corner. I'm just doing patting motions just to get the most pigmentation and to get the placement right, and then I'll come back to blending that in just a minute. I'm then going to take a slightly fluffier blending brush, and I'm going to go into this shade called Feed Me, which is awesome. I love all the little references to Little Shop of Horrors in this palette, and that is just going to go up into the crease, and we're going to blend that darker green out with this shade. And I just want to keep it on the outer half where that other shade is, because I want to put something else in this inner half of the crease. The next shade I'm going to take from this palette is Sundew, and it's that really cool light green shade, and I'm just going to blend out this crease area up to my brow even further. Then I'm taking that same shade, Sundew, I'm going to take that same very kind of light green shade. I'm going to place that on the inner half of my crease as well. So I'm just doing pressing motions to get as much colour payoff as is possible. This is like a pastel colour, so you might have to do a few passes with it. Next up, I'm going to take that same EO1 and I'm going to go into the shade Trapped, and I'm going to start placing this right on my outer corner, just to intensify and get a bit more definition on the outer corner. And I'm just taking this up to my crease, but no further, because I don't want this to dominate the look completely. And I'm going back to my blending brush, no extra product on there, and I'm just going to blend in between my crease and the lid just to make sure that's all blended out nicely. And I'm just using a smaller blending brush. This is the names are rubbing off of these. The EO5, that's how much I used them from Singe. It's just like a small tapered blending brush, and it gets right into that crease area, which is really helpful. It's time for some NYX glitter primer, and I'm just gonna put this on just a flat shader brush, just a little bit. I'm just gonna basically place that all over the naked part of my lid and a little bit over that shadow we put on the outer third of the eye. And this is just going to help the shimmers to stick and hopefully to really pop. Using that same brush I applied the NYX glitter primer with, I want to go into this shade here called Alive. Just a beautiful shimmery like grass green. And I'm going to start putting that on the inner third of my lid. Oh, that's pretty. That matte light green has started to fade a little bit where I've blended, but I'm going to go back into that when I'm finished up with the rest of this eye look. So I'm kind of keeping the middle clear because I want to put another shade there, just to sandwich between the two shades. I'm so sorry if you can hear dogs barking. They're not mine, but they definitely let me know they live here. I'm going to flip that brush round and I'm going to use the shade Venus. So I'm going to take that and I'm just going to sandwich that in between the other two shadows, in between that shimmer and those mattes on the outer third of the crease. That is such a pretty shifty shade. Sorry if my voice is a bit hoarse as well. I'm apologising a lot in this video. I think I'm coming down with a little virus. I've got one of those ticklish sore throats coming on. I'm then going to take a slightly fluffier shader brush and go back into this shade here and see if we can build that up in the inner half of the crease a little bit more. I don't want to take it all the way into my inner corner. Oh, that's looking a lot better. I think it just blended away. I think it just faded a bit from all that blending I did. But that's looking a lot better. Can you see the difference there? So far, all of these shades are laying down beautifully. They're blending out really nicely. I haven't got any problems. So what I'm going to do is go away, do the rest of my makeup, and I'll be back to do the rest of my eye look. Okay, I'm back full face of makeup. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shade here, again called All Green. And I'm just going to take a pencil brush and I'm just going to start running that on my lower lash line, just on the outer half. So I'm going right across to the centre of my pupil. One thing I will say is when I was cleaning up under my eyes, I didn't really notice any fallout, and maybe there's a couple of pieces of like sparkle, but the mattes didn't really have any fallout, so that's just something to note. If you prefer to do your face makeup before your eye makeup, then you hopefully should be okay with this palette, as long as you tap off your brush okay. I want to go into this like baby pink shade here called Bitten. This palette's also giving me Wicked vibes as well, so That's pretty cool. I'm just going to take a flat brush like this. This is the Zoeva 226 Smudger brush. Take some of that shade there. Just spray it with a bit of my Fix Plus. And then I just want to place that on the inner half of my lower lash line. I love pink and greens like this together. I just think they look so pretty. I'm going to take that shade into the inner corner as well. I don't think, apart from these matte pastel shades, there's not really anything else that's going to work for me. I've got this eyeliner here called Wild Idea, and it's one of Colourpop's multi-chrome eyeliners, and I'm just going to pop that in the waterline. If you're looking for a really good multi-chrome eyeliner, then I really do recommend the Colourpop ones. I hope they still sell them, but they are so creamy and they do last in my waterline quite well, especially considering that I've got watery eyes. I'm just going to go away, add some mascara, and I'll be back with the completed look. Okay, I'm not going to lie, I had so much fun playing with the greens in this palette. I think they all performed really beautifully. This shade here is a little bit harder to build up on my skin tone. I do wonder if it will show up better on deeper skin tones, but on me, you can kind of see it. It's just really, really pale. I did have to kind of pack it on a bit. These three green shades, this one, and this one, they all blended absolutely beautifully. I didn't have any problems packing it on. They were really pigmented, but they were really pigmented, but they blended out really nicely. That's what I love about the Gourmande Girls formula so far. They pack a punch, but they're also quite easy to blend out. This multi-chrome shade called Venus here is absolutely stunning. It's what I've got kind of in the middle sandwich between the greens, and I just think it's a really beautiful multi-chrome. This is quite a soft formula, so just be careful. Don't try to dig your brush in. Don't try and dig your brush in too much, because I feel like you'll get too much product up and you could mess with the pan a bit. I love this pink shade here called Bitten, which is on the lower lash line. I just feel it kind of adds an element of like Wicked vibes to it and everything, and obviously the new Wicked movie is coming out, so I'm feeling the green and pinks again. I know I haven't used every shade in the palette, so I'll have to come back and do a more thorough review for you, but so far with the colours I've used, all those greens and that pink and that multi-chrome, the shadows in this palette perform really beautifully. In fact, I feel like their formula has definitely gotten better over time, and this palette is no exception. You know, I love the fact that it's got a ton of like kind of deepening up shades. You've got a couple like this shade here is great for the inner corner for me, and I'm pretty pale, so that works really well for me. I really want to dig into this shade right here, this kind of like marbled shade. It looks so fun and interesting. I do feel like you could probably pull off a neutral look with this palette using this shade, and this deeper shade here. It would be quite a dark vibe, but you could definitely still do it, something nice and smoky. But predominantly I would say if you're a real neutral lover, then this isn't going to be for you, because it's mostly a green palette. I would really like to get into the rest of the collection, maybe get a nice a couple of lip glosses and liquid lipsticks. I'm really interested in the dark green shades, and also I really want to get my hands on the highlighter as well. So if I do, I'll give you an update and let you know what I think of those. If you tried this palette, what do you think of it? What do you think of the formula? I think it bangs, to be honest. I think it's a really great formula. So far from all the shades I've tried, I didn't really have any difficulty of anything except this shade here, and I know pastels can be a pain in the ass to do, so. But yeah, let me know your feelings about this collection in the comments, whether you like it, whether you can pick it up, whether you've already picked it up, what you think of it, and I will see you guys in my next one.